All right, so uh, you're dealing with the aftermath of a Google algorithm change and feeling like your website traffic just fell off a cliff. Yeah, I've got your notes right here, and trust me, you're in the right place.
Oh, yeah. I can see why you might feel that way looking at these numbers.
Yeah, it's rough. Think of Google search as this like massive online game where the rules are constantly changing.
hmm
Feeling lost is totally normal. But that's where we come in. Today, we're your guides, ready to help you not just recover, but like come out stronger on the other side.
You're spot on about those shifting rules.
Yeah.
Google tweaks its algorithms all the time, sometimes even multiple times a day.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's true. It can feel like you're on a roller coaster.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But remember, these changes, as frustrating as they can be, are ultimately aimed at improving search results for everyone.
So it's like Google is trying to make sure everyone gets the best answers to their questions, even if it means shaking things up for us website owners.
Precisely. And that's why it's so crucial to stay informed about these updates. Resources like Google's Search Central blog, industry blogs like Moz and SEMrush, even your own Google Search Console can give you valuable intel on what's changed and when.
Hold on, what exactly is Google Search Console? Is that something I should be using?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think of Google Search Console as your website's direct line to Google. It's a free tool that provides a ton of data about how your site is performing in search results, what keywords people are using to find you, any technical issues that Google has detected, and even security alerts. It's a gold mine of information for understanding your site's health from Google's perspective.
Okay, so Google Search Console is officially on my to-do list, but let's get back to the whole traffic drop situation. You mentioned we need to confirm it's actually an algorithm change and then figure out like how bad the damage is. Do we need to hire a digital detective or something?
Well, you already have your detective hat on because you're keeping those detailed notes.
Yeah.
But seriously, start by cross-referencing the timing of your traffic drop with any announcements or discussions about algorithm updates on those resources we mentioned. If things wind up, you can dive into Google Analytics to see exactly which pages have been hit hardest and where people are leaving your site.
Okay, so let's say we've done our detective work and confirmed it's an algorithm change that's causing the trouble. What's next? Should we start panicking and making a ton of changes to our website?
I know that urge all too well, but honestly, one of the smartest things you can do is wait.
Wait, really? Just sit back and watch the traffic dwindle.
Not exactly do nothing, but avoid knee-jerk reactions. Sometimes Google rolls back updates, or sites naturally recover as the algorithm settles.
So it's like a strategic pause while we gather more information.
Exactly. And while we're in this strategic waiting mode, did you know that sometimes websites experience massive drops after an update, but then bounce back without changing a single thing? It's like Google's own little experiment.
Wow, that's wild. So there's hope even if we don't immediately know what to do. But let's be real, sometimes waiting isn't enough. So what should we be focusing on while we're playing this waiting game?
This is where a core principle of SEO comes in. Content is king. No matter how much Google's algorithms change, they always aim to reward websites that offer real value to users.
So we're talking about creating content that's not just like fluffy keywords, but genuinely helpful, engaging, maybe even entertaining.
Exactly. And Google has this handy acronym for what they look for in high-quality content. EEAT.
All right, let's unpack that. What does EEAT stand for?
It stands for expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
Oh, wow.
These are the qualities Google uses to determine if a website is a credible source of information.
So if I'm writing about, say, ancient Roman history, Google wants to see that I'm not just making stuff up, that I have some real knowledge about the topic, maybe even some personal experience researching it, and that others in the field see me as a reliable source.
You nailed it. It's not just about writing well, it's about demonstrating that you know what you're talking about. And Google's algorithms are becoming increasingly sophisticated at assessing this.
That's fascinating. So Google is like this giant fact-checking machine trying to weed out the fakers and boost the real experts.
Exactly. And this goes beyond the content itself. Google also considers things like your website's design, security, and overall user experience as signals of trustworthiness. Remember, they want to provide the best possible experience for their users.
So it's like having a beautifully curated museum. Even if the exhibits are incredible, if the building is falling apart and it's poorly lit, people aren't going to have a good experience, right?
That's a great analogy. So while we're waiting to see how things shake out with the algorithm, it's a perfect time to evaluate our content.
So that brings us to the content audit you mentioned earlier.
Right.
What exactly does that involve?
Think of it as a checkup for your website's content. Go through your existing pages and articles and ask yourself, is this truly high quality? Does it offer unique insights? Is it original and engaging? Could it be more readable?
So we're essentially playing the role of Google, evaluating our content with a critical eye.
Precisely. And this is where you can uncover quick wins. Maybe you need to update some outdated information, add more visuals to make an article more appealing, or even rewrite sections to make them clearer and more concise.
Okay, so content audit is officially on my to-do list. What else should we be looking at while we're doing this website checkup?
This is where we make sure your website isn't just beautiful, but functional. Remember that analogy of the museum? You could have the best exhibits in the world, but if the doors were locked, no one can get in. This is where technical SEO comes in.
Ah, so this is where we make sure Google can actually access and understand our content.
Exactly. Think of Google's bots as these tireless little explorers constantly crawling the web, following links, and indexing content. We need to make sure they can easily navigate your site and understand what each page is about.
So what are some of the things that might trip up these digital explorers?
Things like broken links, slow loading times, and confusing website architecture can all send signals to Google that your website isn't user-friendly.
Wait, broken links. That sounds like something I should definitely be checking for. Is there a tool that can help me with that?
There are a bunch of great tools out there, but one of my favorites is Screaming Frog. It's like a super-powered spider that crawls your website and identifies all sorts of technical issues, including broken links.
Okay, Screaming Frog it is. So we've got our content audit, our technical SEO checkup, and we're strategically waiting to see what Google does. What else should we be thinking about while we're in this post-algorithm change limbo?
This is where we need to think about the bigger picture, and remember that Google isn't the only game in town. We need to talk about diversifying your traffic sources.
Ah, so we're talking about not putting all our eggs in the Google basket.
Exactly. Relying solely on organic search traffic from Google can be risky, especially when those algorithms are constantly shifting. Imagine Google is like a giant department store.
Okay.
It's great to have a prominent spot there, but what happens if that store suddenly closes?
Right. Oh.
You want to make sure you have other avenues to reach your customers, right?
That makes a lot of sense. So what are some of those other avenues, those alternative ways to get people to our website?
We'll dive deeper into this in the next part of our deep dive. But for now, just keep in mind that channels like social media, email marketing, and paid advertising can all play a role in spreading the risk and ensuring a steady flow of visitors to your website.
Okay, I'm already feeling more empowered, like I have more control over my website's destiny. So we've covered a lot of ground already. Confirming the algorithm change, analyzing the damage, strategically waiting, focusing on high-quality content, conducting a technical checkup, and even starting to think about diversifying our traffic sources. This has been a deep dive in the truest sense of the word. But I think we need to resurface for a moment and take a breath. We'll be back in part 2 to explore those alternative traffic avenues and talk about adopting the right mindset for navigating these ever-changing algorithms. Welcome back to our deep dive into Google algorithm changes. In part 1, we talked about confirming the impact of the change, analyzing the damage, and even doing a little website checkup while we strategically wait to see what Google does next. Now let's explore those alternative traffic sources you mentioned and maybe even shift our mindset a little bit. I'm ready to resurface from this deep dive feeling empowered, not defeated.
I love that attitude, and you're right. Focusing on what we can control is key. Remember when we talked about not putting all our eggs in the Google basket? Well, let's unpack some of those other baskets, those alternative traffic sources that can help us build a more resilient online presence.
Yes, please, I'm all ears. Where do we even begin?
Well, one powerful avenue is social media. It's not just for sharing cat videos and vacation pics anymore. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, even TikTok can be incredible tools for driving traffic and building a loyal audience.
Okay, I get the social media is important, but honestly, it can feel so overwhelming. There are so many platforms, and the algorithms are always changing there too. Where do I even start?
You're not alone in feeling that way. The key is to focus on the platforms where your target audience hangs out. Think about who you're trying to reach and what kind of content they're most likely to engage with.
Okay.
If you're in a visual field like fashion or food, Instagram or Pinterest might be your best bet. If you're sharing business insights or professional advice, LinkedIn might be a better fit.
So it's about being strategic and not trying to be everywhere at once.
Exactly. It's about quality over quantity. It's better to have a strong presence on one or two platforms where you can really connect with your audience than to be spread thin across a dozen platforms where you're just shouting into the void.
That makes sense. So we've got social media on our list. What else is there?
Another powerful tool is email marketing. It might seem a bit old school in the age of social media, but it's still one of the most effective ways to build direct relationships with your audience.
I'll admit, I've been a bit neglectful of my email list. Why is it so important?
Well, think about it this way. You own your email list. It's not subject to the whims of Google's algorithms or the ever-changing rules of social media platforms. When you build an email list, you're creating a direct line of communication with people who are genuinely interested in what you have to offer.
So it's like having a VIP club for your most loyal fans.
Exactly. You can use email to share exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, special offers, and even just personal updates to nurture those relationships and keep people engaged with your brand. And every time you send an email, you have the opportunity to drive traffic back to your website.
Okay, I'm starting to see the power of email marketing. So we've got social media, email marketing. Is there anything else we can add to our traffic diversification toolkit?
Well, there's always paid advertising. Platforms like Google Ads and social media advertising can be great ways to reach a wider audience and drive targeted traffic to your website.
I've heard mixed things about paid advertising. Some people swear by it, others say it's a waste of money. What are your thoughts?
It really depends on your goals and your budget. Paid advertising can be a powerful tool if you use it strategically.
Right.
It allows you to target specific demographics, interests, and even keywords so you can make sure your ads are seen by people who are most likely to be interested in what you have to offer.
So it's not just about throwing money at ads and hoping for the best. There's a real art and science to it.
Exactly, and it's something you can learn and refine over time. Even a small investment in paid advertising can make a big difference, especially if you're strategic about your targeting and messaging.
Okay, so we've got a whole toolbox of traffic diversification strategies now.
Yeah.
Social media, email marketing, and paid advertising. I'm feeling much less reliant on Google already, but I have to admit I'm still struggling a bit with the mindset piece. It's hard not to feel discouraged when those algorithm changes hit and you see your traffic plummet. How can we shift our perspective and see these changes as opportunities instead of setbacks?
That's such an important question, and it's something a lot of website owners struggle with. Here's the thing. SEO is a long game.
Yeah.
It's not about quick fixes or tricks. It's about building a website that's genuinely valuable to your audience and sustainable over time.
So instead of freaking out about every little algorithm tweak, we should focus on creating a website that people genuinely love.
Exactly. And the beauty of that is when you focus on creating a great user experience, you naturally align with Google's goals as well. Remember, they want to reward websites that offer valuable, engaging, trustworthy content. It's a win-win situation.
So it's like the old saying, build it and they will come. But in this case, it's build it awesome and Google and your audience will love it.
I love that. And think about this. Google's algorithm changes, while sometimes disruptive, are ultimately aimed at improving the search experience for everyone. They're like those personal trainers who push us to our limits even when we want to give up.
So instead of seeing these changes as attacks on our websites, we should see them as opportunities to learn and grow.
Exactly. And every time you successfully navigate an algorithm change, you're strengthening your website and building your expertise. It's like leveling up in a video game. You gain experience, you get stronger, and you unlock new possibilities.
That's a great analogy, and it really helps to reframe those feelings of frustration and discouragement. But let's be real, those feelings are still going to pop up sometimes, right? So what are some practical things we can do to stay ahead of the curve and not be caught off guard by these algorithm changes?
Well, remember those resources we mentioned earlier? Google's Search Central blog, Moz, SEMrush. Make it a habit to check those regularly to stay informed about any major updates or trends. You can even set up alerts so you get notified whenever there's a new announcement or discussion about algorithm changes.
So it's like reading the industry news to keep our fingers on the pulse of what Google is up to.
Exactly. Knowledge is power in the SEO world.
Okay.
The more informed you are, the better equipped you'll be to adapt and thrive.
That makes a lot of sense. And while we're on the topic of staying informed, what about those Google search quality guidelines we talked about?
Those are essential reading for any website owner. Think of them as your SEO playbook, your roadmap to creating content that Google will love. They outline what Google considers to be high-quality content, and they can give you a good sense of what they're looking for when they crawl and rank websites.
So I should print those guidelines out, highlight them, dog-ear the pages, and maybe even sleep with them under my pillow.
Maybe not under your pillow, but definitely keep them handy and refer to them often. They're a constantly evolving document, so make sure you're checking the latest version.
Okay, search quality guidelines, check. What else can we do to stay ahead of the game?
Another tip is to join relevant online communities and forums. It's like having a support group for website owners navigating the sometimes turbulent waters of Google's algorithms.
I love that. So it's not just about learning from the experts, but also from our peers, those who are in the trenches with us.
Exactly. You can learn from other website owners, share tips and strategies, ask questions, and even just vent your frustrations. It's a great way to feel less alone in this journey and to tap into a collective wisdom.
Okay, so we've got our resources, our communities, and we're working on cultivating that growth mindset. Anything else?
The most important thing is to remember that you're not alone in this. Google algorithm changes are a reality for all website owners.
Mm-hmm.
But by staying informed, adapting our strategies, and focusing on creating genuinely valuable websites,
Yeah.
we can not only survive these changes, but thrive in spite of them.
This has been so incredibly helpful. I'm feeling much more confident and empowered to face whatever Google throws my way. We've talked about diversifying our traffic sources, shifting our mindsets, staying informed, and even finding support within the online community. What a deep dive. But before we resurface for good, we'll be back in part 3 to wrap up this episode with some final thoughts and a parting challenge for you, our listener. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive. Into those sometimes mystifying, sometimes maddening Google algorithm changes. We've talked about analyzing their impact, strategically responding, even diversifying our traffic sources. But for me, what's really stuck is this idea that these changes, as frustrating as they can be, might actually be pushing us to become better website owners overall.
Mm-hmm. It's so easy to get caught up in the technical side of things, the constant chase for rankings, but you're absolutely right. At the heart of it, a good website is about connecting with people, offering them something genuinely valuable.
Exactly. So as we resurface from this deep dive, I wanna leave our listener with a bit of a challenge.
Okay. Imagine you could build a website that's not just Google proof,
Right.
but a true reflection of your passion and expertise. What would that look like? What would make people not only find it easily, but want to spend time there, share it with others?
What a fantastic question to ponder. It really gets to the core of why we create websites in the first place, doesn't it? Not
Love
just to appease some algorithm, but to share our unique voice, our knowledge, our creativity with the world.
It does, doesn't it? And I think the answer lies in kind of weaving together everything we've explored today. Understanding Google's goals, yes, but also prioritizing user experience, crafting high-quality content that goes beyond just keywords, and maybe most importantly, cultivating that growth mindset, seeing these algorithm shifts not as roadblocks, but as signposts guiding us toward building something truly exceptional.
It's like Google is holding up a mirror to our websites, forcing us to ask, is this truly the best we can do? Are we providing real value or just chasing fleeting trends?
Exactly. And that's a powerful question for any website owner to ask themselves. So to our listener out there, I say go forth and build those amazing websites. Don't let the fear of algorithms hold you back from sharing your unique gifts with the world. And remember, even when it feels like you're diving into the murky depths alone, there's a whole community of us out here cheering you on, ready to share the knowledge and support that helps us all rise to the surface stronger. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.